Everyone, for community event. We're very thankful that you're here tonight and that you've chosen to spend your Tuesday evening with us. So the topic that we're going to discuss tonight is the anti-meeting generation, and it's going to be led by one of our own, Angelica Testini. She's a senior product manager in Product People. Just before we jump into the presentation, just a quick few seconds about who I am. So my name is Stefan. I'm also a product manager at Product People. I have a few years experience as a product manager. And in that time, I've been working in banking and mobility, SaaS and procurement and integrations and SDKs. I initially started studying for law, and I did my articles as an attorney, but then shortly after that, I transitioned into product management. So that's it about me. And then just a little bit about Product People. So one of the things that we're really passionate about is what we're doing tonight, and that's empowering our product management community and sharing knowledge generously. So if you're on this call tonight, wherever you're joining from, whether it's LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook or anywhere, then you're part of that 17,000 product management community that we have. So thank you for joining. And just as what we actually do on a day-to-day, is we are on a mission to help companies discover and deliver great products faster. So we love to onboard fast, align teams, and deliver outcomes. And we're about 41 in-house product managers that act as interim product managers for lots of different companies in B2C and B2B all around Europe. So just before we get started, we just want to warm everyone up a little bit. So we have two questions that are related to our topic that we want to discuss tonight. The first question is, do your meetings make you happy? And the second question is, have you ever tried asynchronous working? So if you're on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn or any of the other channels, then you can give us your answers on the chat. And if you're on Zoom, you're going to see that there's a poll that's going to come up now. And then you can just post your answers on that poll as well. So just to give you some time to think about what you want to answer, I'm just going to read the questions out for you. So first question, do your meetings make you happy? So you can choose A, I cry a lot, or B, most make me cry, some are okay. C, most meetings are okay or fine, but some are extremely boring. Or D, all my meetings are super efficient, it makes me happy. Now I want to see who answers with that answer, but those are your four options. And then the second question is, have you ever tried asynchronous working? So A is never heard of it. B, I've heard of it before, but I've never used it. C, yes, I've used it in the past. And D, yes, in my current organization, we work asynchronously. So I don't want to influence anyone to answer in a certain way, but I can definitely tell you what I'm not going to be answering. And that is, do your meetings make you happy? D. I'm definitely not in the D in the D crew. Of all my meetings are super efficient and it makes me happy. But I'm quite interested or curious to see what everyone else is gonna answer. Let's give it a look. So on YouTube, we're seeing that someone is saying that C, so most of their meetings are fine, but some are extremely boring. Yeah, I think probably you can never really get away from some of them being a little bit boring. And then someone has also said, have you ever tried asynchronous working? Yes, I've used it in the past. And then we're also getting some answers on Zoom. Also, most meetings are fine, but some are extremely boring. But most of the people are saying, yeah, most meetings are fine, but some are extremely boring. And then we have some people who are saying, most make me cry, some are okay. And then under have you ever heard or tried of asynchronous working? There's actually 36% of people on Zoom saying, yes, I've used it in the past. And yes, in my current organization, we work asynchronously. And then there's quite a few people that have said that they've never heard about asynchronous working. So thanks everyone for your answers and for playing along. So without any further ado, I know Angelica is burning to talk to you, and I'm also very excited to hear what she has to say, especially being that she's, one of our team members. So I'll be handing over to Angelica. Like I said, she's a senior product manager too at Product People. And I'm going to stop sharing now, Angelica, so that you can start sharing.
Thank you, Stefan. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. Thank you for spending your Tuesday evening with us. I'm going to be talking about this presentation that I call the anti-meeting generation. It's a reflection on whether we are the generation that is going to end meetings forever, that is going to kill meetings forever, or not. On top of that, it's really a story of how my relationship with meetings changed over the years and how I found the balance between love and hate. I'm gonna say a few words about me. I'm a senior product manager at Product People. I've been in product for more than 6 years. I have had different roles in product and around product, and I focused on payments and billing and monetization in the last years. I have worked for a very long time, more than 6 years, in a company called Amadeus in the travel space. And I joined Product People 7 months ago. And since then, I have been lucky enough to contribute to different projects, super interesting ones in the urban mobility, media, sports space, music, and conversational artificial intelligence. I am an engineer. I'm an electronical engineer by training. I am Italian and I live in France. As you can see from my background, this is a picture from the city I live in, which is Antibes. I love mentoring and coaching, and I do it a lot at Product People, but I also do it externally on a platform called ADP List. So if you don't know it, check it out. Now, let's get to our talk. So why are we speaking about this? The first thing is we are starting to see more and more articles about this. Stop the meeting madness, too many meetings, meetings are bad. This is fairly recent. It has been definitely accelerated by COVID. And we are also starting to see more of alternatives to meeting, to synchronous way of working, which is a synchronous way of working. Yes, these are just examples of articles, podcasts that you may have seen, you may have heard of, speaking about what else is there. If we don't want to do meetings, if we hate meetings, what else can we do? And asynchronous working is probably the most famous, the most common alternative to synchronous working, which is basically just having meetings. Also, really, why are we having this talk is because I truly believe that time is the most valuable thing we own. Making sure that your meetings are efficient or that you skip them whenever possible is a form of respect towards yourself and your colleagues. And yeah, this is really the reason why it is important to have these kind of conversations, and we need to have them frequently, and we need to be open about it. Now, how do you guys feel about meeting? I know we already had the poll, but I really enjoy this emoji thing that we're doing at Product People. Sometimes we use the chat or the comment section to share, to use emojis to share how we're feeling about something. So I would like to try it with you. Just share some emojis that represent the way you feel about meetings in the chat. It could be hearts or love letters if you love them. It could be skulls or whatever you want. Or that also works using the emojis on Zoom. Yeah, thank you. Awesome. Okay, I don't see a lot of hearts. Okay. Let's see if we can do something about that. So let me tell you a story, the story of how my relationship with meetings changed. When I joined when I started working, basically, when I first started in corporate, this was me. I was super excited. I loved meetings, mostly because I felt like I was part of something. I felt like I was sitting at the table to take decisions. I was involved. I felt like a grown-up. I mean, I was fairly young. And then a few years later, it was more like this. Oh, one more meeting. Like, I had so many that I wasn't really excited anymore about just being in a room, discussing things over and over, and doing only that during the day. Meetings were all I had. I had no meeting hygiene at all. I had very poor time management. And more importantly, I didn't see any alternative. That was all I knew. I didn't even know that there were different ways of achieving things and getting things done that were not, let's sit all together at the same table and take a decision together. So I went from love to hate in a few years, maybe even less than that. I tried to think about what is really wrong with meetings. Are meetings the source of all evil? What is about meetings that makes us hate them? Now, these are the things that I came up with. First of all, they dovetail nicely. They have this very nice way to just stack up during your day and fill everything, basically. Oh, you have a 30-minute slot. Let me take it. And we discuss about X. Oh, look at that. You have a 1 hour 30 lunch break. Let's make it an hour and discuss why. So at some point, you just end up having meetings the whole day. The second thing is they take time from your human things. Suddenly, refilling your water bottle, going to the bathroom, taking a coffee, just walking around the room becomes something that you have to plan, something that you have to think about. You have to ask yourself, oh, will I have time to fill my bottle in the next hour? So they put constraints during our day on human things that we need to do to function. They are full of surprises. Sometimes they are surprisingly boring. And sometimes it's like, oh, surprise, make a presentation. Explain us this, explain us that. And you suddenly are requested to take the lead or whatever. We are not really in control of our time. And sometimes it's hard to expect where the discussion will go or what will happen during the meeting. Also, something that bothers me a lot, and this is related to my personality, so you may not feel the same, but for me, so the fact that life goes on during my meetings, so it's not just because I'm in a meeting that people stop working and sending messages and doing things, that creates some anxiety. And I feel like I always have to catch up. And when I'm out of a meeting, I have all of these things that I missed just because I was in a meeting. So this really generates some anxiety and some negative feelings during the day. And last but not least, they tend to limit my creating time. Because even when you are doing them right, which means you are identifying a topic, trying to stick to the topic, trying to be efficient, you still cannot explore, diverge, discover. You need to stick to the topic. So if you end up having only meetings, if meetings are all you have, well, you have no creative time at all. So what is the alternative? If we don't do meetings, what do we do? Well, my favorite one, and the one that we practice a lot, or we try to practice a lot at Product People, is asynchronous working. First of all, I would like to highlight the difference between asynchronous working and remote working. They are absolutely not the same thing. Sometimes we speak about them at the same time, but they are not the same thing. Remote working is not being in the same room, in the same office, working from anywhere. You can still work remotely and have your day full of meetings. So just because you work remotely, that doesn't mean you work asynchronously. Working asynchronously means that, so first of all, it's a change of mindset. But in particular, if we go deeper, it means that collaboration doesn't happen real time. People still collaborate, but not at the same time. It means that you can choose the time slots in which you are most efficient. Sometimes it's the evening, sometimes it's the night, sometimes it's the early morning, sometimes it's Sunday afternoon, sometimes it's Friday afternoon. Who am I to judge? It also means being transparent on when you choose or when you can work, because you owe that to your team. You are choosing when you want to work. So you should be transparent on what your decision is. And the last one, which is really the most powerful and the most important one, is not expecting an answer right away. When we are in a meeting, people can give us a feedback, a reaction, an answer instantly. And if we are used to that, if we always expect people to answer right away, asynchronous cannot work. So working asynchronously means starting to split the work in a way that I can wait for someone to give me a feedback, an answer, a reaction at their own pace without that impacting me or blocking me. And this is where it's really a change of mindset, because when I started doing this regularly, I started finding different ways to split the work so that we could do this at our own pace and not being blocked. Now, of course, reality check. Not everything fits this way of working. We don't take this as, oh, let's do asynchronous, let's stop meetings completely. Some things need to be synchronous, and so be it. What I would like you to take at the end of this slide, your call to action, is try to think about what you do, the way you work, your tasks, and try to find things that you can start doing asynchronously, little by little. Share it with your team, propose it in your organization. This is how change happens, little by little. Now, let's get back to meetings for a second, because as I said, we cannot really, I don't think we can or should get rid of them completely. So we need to find a balance between love and hate. So I'm going to share what I do, what is my way to cope with the meetings that I still have. So first of all, I'm going to talk to you guys about my morning ritual. It starts with coffee. Then usually I get some more coffee because one is never enough. And also I'm Italian. And then I actually start working. So the first thing I do is I look at my agenda. I take some time to review my agenda. Now, if you are product managers like me, you will probably share this feeling. My days don't look the same at all. I never know what I'm going to do. My activities change from one day to the other. So it really helps me to have a few minutes with my coffee, or my 2 coffees, to think about, to see what I will be expected to do during the day. Then I go through my meetings. I will get back to this just after. And then I make sure I have RSVP'd if I haven't already. So if there is a meeting that for whatever reason, I am choosing not to attend or I cannot go to, I will answer. I will say to the person, hey, I'm not coming. Now, this is a way to respect their time, and it's a way to let them know that you can't or don't want to, whatever. But more importantly, this gives them the opportunity to get back to you and to say, hey, I actually need you. And maybe you will reconsider your decision. Maybe you missed a piece of the context that made you take a decision, and it turns out it's not the right one. So this is very important. And it's a way, again, it's a way to respect your time and your colleagues' time. If you should do it before, but if you haven't done it, that's your last moment to do it. Of course, I am answering to Ismail's comment in the chat. Now, when I go through my meetings, I like to do something that I call the meeting audit. So I have 3 categories of meetings that I usually keep in mind, and I try to classify my meetings to put them in one of these boxes. The first one is the meetings I run. Now, these are the meetings where I know I need to be 100% in, or even more. I need to be prepared. I need to present. I need to share something. I need to explain. I need to interview. It doesn't matter. I need to be there 100% of the time. Then there are the meetings where I need to listen. So these are meetings where I am consulted or informed. I don't need to participate actively, or at least not the whole time. I just need to be ready to jump in if needed. It truly helps me to know the difference between the meeting I have to run and the meeting where I just have to listen. It really helps me handle my energy levels during the day, and making sure that for example, I do not have 2 or more meetings stacked, like meeting that I need to run at the same one after the other, because that can be very energy draining. Now, the third category is the meetings I could have skipped. Now, these are the ones that for whatever reason I can't, or I haven't managed to skip yet. Of course, my suggestion is challenge them. If you don't believe this should exist, if you don't believe you should be invited, because maybe they are useful to some people, but not to you, and that's totally fine. So try to challenge them. Now, if you still don't manage to remove them, and for whatever reason you end up having to participate, and in my experience, this happens, use them as a buffer, as a way to recharge. And really, it helps me to know that I have some meetings like this, that not all my meetings are meetings in which I have to be 100% in all the time. Now, I always try to remove, avoid back-to-back meetings, or meetings that I am running, that I am actively facilitating or running. But when I can't, and I end up having multiple ones, what really helps me is to make sure I prepare in advance. So I prepare my talking points. I open my presentation in the morning. I make sure I have a page ready for when I need it. Sometimes I write down things on paper or on Slack. Doesn't matter, it's just for me. But I really try to write down what will help me, because if I start the meeting and I have those 5 minutes where I have to think about, oh, where is my presentation? That brings me anxiety, and it really doesn't help me. If I know I'm ready, I feel confident, and I can handle context switching fairly easily. So this is my recipe for when really I didn't manage to get rid or space in the day the meetings that I have to run. Now, during the meetings, so this is how I take the best out of my meetings: before, during, and after. This is going to be very basic if you have a good meeting hygiene. I want to say it because I still see people not applying these principles. So I think it's important that we say it, that we repeat it often, and that we really pay attention about these little things. So before the meetings, set a clear agenda. I still see meetings that don't have an agenda. It should be clear to you are asking the person to give you some of their time. It should be clear why. What do you expect from them? Is it an answer? Is it brainstorming? Is it, hey, I want to pick your brain on something? It doesn't matter, but it needs to be clear. And what I always try to do is to make sure that at least the key attendees have answered, accepted, or rejected the meeting. Because if I do the meeting and I am missing one or more key attendees, then what probably will happen is that the meeting will not be efficient, will not be able to take a decision, will not be able to finish what we wanted to do. We will have to come back to the topic, or make a follow-up, and that's going to waste the time of those who had come to the meeting. So I generally prefer not having the meeting, delaying the meeting, to accommodate, to make sure that all my key attendees can actually come, rather than having it anyway. So this is very important. Now, during my meetings, I always start by setting the expectations. I always explain my understanding, explain why I set the meeting. If the organizer of the meeting is not doing it, I generally ask, what do we, I'm sorry, that is my cat. what do we expect from the meeting? What do we want to achieve at the end of this call? I always make sure that there's a note taker. Could be me, could be anyone else, doesn't matter, but it should be clear. And I like to recap the action items or the important recap, like the outcome of the meeting several times during the discussion, not just at the end, because that's a way to keep everybody on the same page and make sure that I'm not missing anything if I'm the one expecting something from people. Now, after the meeting or when the meeting is over, I always try to wrap up quickly. Usually what I do is I share my understanding. I say, hey guys, this is what I'm taking from the meeting. Do we agree? Is it okay? Am I missing something? It's a very simple way to make sure that you're not missing anything. And it also gives closure to the session. Whenever possible, especially for longer sessions, try to finish 5 minutes earlier. This is just an act of kindness towards the participants. People usually will have meetings starting just after. If you're not using the 50 minutes or 45 minutes meetings, then it's always a good habit to end a little bit before, so that people can have time for their human things. And of course, last but not least, everybody should know where the notes or the meeting minutes and the action items will be. So make sure that they are aware of it, however you choose to do that. Now, to cancel or not to cancel. Auditing a meeting, reviewing, deciding, or challenging a meeting is something that we need to do regularly, because efficient meetings have a limited lifespan. You may have a meeting that is super efficient, that works incredibly well, that is useful to the participants today, that may become obsolete in 6 months. So especially for regular meetings, constantly trigger an audit. Like, ask yourselves, is it still valuable? Is it still relevant? So what I usually do is I ask myself, is this meeting interactive enough? Have people exchanged? Is there collaboration? Did I listen? Did I actively listen to what people were saying? Have I learned something? And if the answer to any of these is yes, then generally it's a good sign that the meeting should stay. If you have mostly no's, then it's time to maybe raise the question. And again, you need to be very subtle and aware that people may not feel the same as you. It's your perception, but still, it's important to raise the question, to say, hey guys, do you feel like you're learning something from this meeting? Because I haven't felt like I have in the last 6 sessions or 2 or whatever. So then when you decide that, or how do you know when a meeting can be something else? Could this have been a meeting is a very catchy phrase that we're hearing a lot lately. Sometimes 1 hour meetings could have been an email, and that's okay. There's actually more than just emails. If it's a status update, a roundtable, something where people share a status, give the status, but there's not much collaboration, then it could be a written update. It can be a Slack, can be an email, can be Teams message, whatever you use in your company. If it's a demo, sharing, giving announcements, or showing how a product is working, or showcasing something, then consider recordings. There are so many tools today that can easily be integrated with tools that we use that can allow you to just seamlessly record yourself explaining something, and then you can gather feedback asynchronously. So it's a very nice alternative. If you want something creative, if you still want to sit with people or think about something synchronously, then consider a workshop or pair working, whatever. We are not at war with meeting with people. We're just at war with inefficient meetings that are there just for habit. So think about ways to use collaborative tools or make workshops. If you are lucky enough to be able to see your colleagues in an office and use a whiteboard, do that. I do not consider that as an inefficient meeting, as long as it's prepared and people have their expectations, and that it leads to something, whatever the result is. If the result is a screenshot of the whiteboard, great. Now, I don't want to go too far into this, because my very talented colleagues wrote an article called could this have been an email? It's a Medium, and you can find the link here. I really loved it. It's very simple. It's a structured way to assess whether you will need to use whether the most adapted tool is an email, a meeting, or something else. And I really use it regularly. So I suggest you guys to have a look if you haven't read it yet, if you haven't seen it yet. Now, sorry, there is a delay in my. Let's set aside meetings for a second. I want to speak about something that is very important for me, that highly impacts my productivity during the day, and it's related to notifications. Whether they are personal or work related, I absolutely hate all sound notifications. We get so many notifications that if I had to react to and check what happens every single time I get a sound notification, I would not work at all. So I check my notifications regularly during the day, because also I have some kind of anxiety and I need to do that. But I like to do it at my own pace. I decide when I'm going to check notifications. So my suggestion is, if you feel like you may be distracted by sound notifications, just turn them off. Now, I take it even a step further. I try to control and structure notifications, my personal notifications during the day, because even if there's no sound, if my phone turns on, I tend to want to look at it. So I make it in a way that only important things make my phone turn on. All the rest can wait till the end of the day. So what I use is, so there are different ways to control notifications on the phone. This is an example from iOS and Android. There are ways to set a profile to say, hey, these apps can trigger notification only. These people can trigger notification only. The others can wait. And Vinted, Instagram, these are examples of my most used apps. They can wait till the end of the day. So this is really something that helps me channel my energy and focus on what I am doing and not get distracted with anything else that happens. One final word on working remotely. Please do not take this again as a war to all gatherings and meetings. We are social animals. We need to keep it social, and we need it. We need FaceTime with the team. What we do at Product People, so wine and wines are my favorite meetings. We do that sometimes at Product People. We drink a glass of wine or whatever, the drink of our choice, and we complain about whatever we want. Sometimes we do wine and shine, where we praise and share happy things. We do retrospectives, gatherings, it doesn't matter, find your ways. But yeah, do not consider, like, some meetings are good. We need to fight the wrong ones. Now, 3 key takeaways. If there were 3 things that I would like you guys to remember of this presentation, they would be that: 1, meetings do not need to be the worst part of your job. There are ways to make it better. You need to pick what applies to your case, but there are ways to improve it. Asynchronous working is a mindset. It's more than just not working at the same time. Try it if you can, as much as you can. And 3rd, we are way more aware of how we use our time. And I think we have the power to stop the meeting madness. I don't think we are the anti-meeting generation. This is my conclusion. But I really think we have the tools to do it better and to have efficient meetings that we're happy with. That we go out of the meeting, we're happy about what we achieved and what we actually have decided or concluded or whatever. This is all. Thank you guys for listening to me and for joining these our product people meetups. And I will be taking your questions. Or let's connect on LinkedIn. This is a QR code that leads to my profile. So yeah, ready for your questions. I should stop sharing, right, Stefan?
Yes, please, Angelica. Thank you so much, Angelica. I think that was really very insightful. So everyone, we're going to give you a few minutes to just, or maybe a minute or a minute and a half, to just think about some questions for Angelica after a great talk. Just one thing that Dila and I have been speaking about on the side, Angelica, if you could maybe share that link to the Medium page that you were talking about. Could it have been an email? If you share it on Zoom, then Dila will share it with everyone on the different channels as well. But thanks again, Angelica. So just while you're thinking about the questions that you could ask Angelica, just a little bit more about product people to give you some time. So the use cases when it's best to engage with us is when you need an interim product manager or product leader. So you have people that are going on parental leave, between 3 or 12 months, or you are looking to hire someone permanently, but it's taking some time to get that person in that role, or product coaches or consultants, or product discovery leads as well. And then just some of the clients that we've been working on in the B2C world. So you can see some of them are listed here, and we're really very thankful, and we were very excited to work with them. And then just some of our B2B clients as well, also really cool clients to have been able to work with. And then just some positive feedback from our clients. So I'm not going to read through all of them, but as you can see, some of them are talking about, the immediate responsibility zone and onboarding really fast and giving a super great onboarding experience. So that's just some of the feedback that we've been really, really proud of to have gotten. And then just some product people stats. So we have 71% client retention. So that means that we renew initial engagement, or they come back later, or we expand our services. So that's a really good percentage that we have there. We have 40 product leaders and product managers, about 41 now, I think. That's in-house and full-time. And then a really cool stat is that 56% of our team is women, and 66% of them are in leadership as well. So that's a really strong metric to also have within our team. And then here's just the snapshot of who our team is. So like you can see, we're kind of very diverse, and we're also all over the world. But our main business is in Berlin, and we're mostly scattered in Europe. But I'm, for example, in Cape Town, in South Africa. So we're really, really global and all over. And just if you look there at the bottom, sorry, I'm pointing at my screen as if you can see me, but at the bottom, there's a placeholder image of a product person, which could be you. So if you'd like to apply to be a product manager or senior product manager, please follow this link. It's boards.eu.greenhouse.io/product people, and send us your CV and answer some of the questions there. We'd be very happy to review your application, and hopefully you can join our team. And that's it. I think we probably would have gotten some questions by now, and I'll share them with Angelica. Let me just see here on the side. So Henning Zander is asking, are all meetings going to be presentations, or are there any interactive formats that you can plan for as well that's not presentations?
I would say there are many, many different ways you can interact with people. Sometimes You can use collaborative tools like Miro or Mural. You can prepare something and then allow people to contribute. I do it a lot when I need feedback from someone, from a group of people, or when I want to produce something. For example, if I am working with a new team that is being formed, that I want to build with them the mission or the vision of the team, something I've done recently. So presentations are generally not my format of choice for a meeting. If I want to share a presentation, I will rather record it and share the recording, unless I want the presentation to be interactive. So that's actually that's my last choice for a meeting format presentation.
Okay, thanks, Angelica. And then just, is there a metric that you think we can kind of look at to see your meeting hygiene? So in your week, do you look at how much time you spend in meetings, or do you look at whether you can vouch for each and every meeting's existence? Or what is it that we can look at that we can say, my hygiene for my meetings aren't actually so clean, or it is really clean and it is very healthy? Is there something that we can, like a cheat sheet?
I would say I generally like to look at whether the agendas are set for meetings. If you have meetings without agendas, that's a very big sign. I also don't like to spend too much time counting the numbers of meetings I have, because I know that I generally always challenge the ones that I don't feel like I should be attending. Now, and also I don't look, I still have a lot of meetings, because, for example, when you grow in leadership roles, or when you have more responsibility, it is normal to have a need to interact with people more often. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't think that having a lot of hours of meetings is per se a bad thing. It depends. If you are a PM of one team, then maybe yes. But if you intervene in different, if you have more responsibility, if you intervene in different, if you have a larger scope, then per se it's not a bad thing. My measure is my feeling. Like, if I get out of a meeting and I feel like I haven't achieved anything, I am frustrated, I have hated the time I've spent there, then that's a sign that I have to review a bit my meeting hygiene. That's how I personally address it.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Angelica. And then we have a question from Stacy. She's asking, have you ever tried to run Scrum ceremonies async?
Good question. I have tried dailies async, and I have done retro asynchronously, but that was just because there was a reason. Like, it was an exception. It was I don't remember exactly what was the reason, but I've done it once, and I don't really I haven't tried to do it more or again. What I personally like is to reduce as much as possible the duration of the whole thing. Like, I see people, I see teams that have this habit of doing a sprint change day, like doing the full day of like closing, retro, refinement, sometimes planning. That is really something I challenge. I think sprint change shouldn't take more than 2.5 hours or 3 hours. If it's more than half a day, it's a problem. It's a sign that there's something to be addressed in the clarity of the topics with the team. But yeah, generally, I like to keep that synchronous, but shorter.
Okay. Thanks, Angelica. And then we also have another question from YouTube that's asking, do you think that recording meetings hurts people's participation?
Sorry, can you say again? Recording meetings?
Yeah, so the person is asking, like, when you're in a meeting and you're then recording the meeting, do you think that could hurt that participation or interaction in the meeting?
It shouldn't. If it does, it's probably because of other reasons. But recording a meeting per se, I don't think should hurt participation. It's if it's the case, if it happens, there's probably another reason, like there's a cause that is a bit hidden behind the just recording.
Okay. And then, Angelica, so is there, like, when you send out a meeting invite, so you're the one that's actually now initiating this meeting, what are those like 3 or 4 questions that you've asked yourself before you've sent out that meeting to know that this meeting is really actually necessary and we can't do this async?
This is a very good question. Well, generally, what I try to do is exactly follow the graph in the article that I mentioned. It's like I ask myself, okay, is it something complex? Do I need multiple people? Am I expecting interaction to be there? It's also true with respect to the group of people you want to select. Like sometimes you want to do bigger meetings, sometimes you prefer to reduce. So you really need to, I think the key is, what do you want to achieve? And if you are clear on what you want to achieve, then you can decide whether it could or should be an email or a Slack update, or whether it really needs to be a meeting. And what I see is that when you apply this regularly and rigorously, you generally tend to have, like I get out of meetings and I'm like, okay, I really achieved something. This really brought me something good, and I don't have that bad feeling anymore.
Okay, great. Thank you, Angelica. And I think actually we're going to end with one of the goals that you had in your presentation as well. That's like ending with 5 or 7 minutes early. So I think we've made that. We've hit that target. Thank you so much, Angelica. I think for a lot of people, this was really insightful and great to just recheck. And like you said, it's good to sometimes mention these stuff just over and over again, just to make sure that we check in with ourselves regularly and check in with our meeting hygiene as well. So thank you so much for taking the time to have this session with us. And thank you also everyone else for deciding to spend a Tuesday night with us here at Product People and listening to the talk that Angelica also made for us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.